Welcome back to the Cave of Wonders, Dreamwalkers. I am your Sith Lord Callous. I am where Star Wars lives. And this is another Rancorous Review, my comic book edition. So if you're new here to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button, then turn on notifications so you can join the Dreamwalkers on our journey. Today I want to talk about Star Wars Age of Resistance. The 8th installment of this story arc features Rey and is entitled Alone. Now, they aren't classifying these issues as part of a series, but rather as one-shots that are falling into a specific timeline, offering backstory for specific characters, or more easily recognized as gap fillers. I'll be covering each issue, so stay tuned for my Snoke review a little later this week. Alone was released on September 18, 2019. It was written by Tom Taylor with art by Raymond Rosanas. Color was done by Guru Effects, and the cover art by Phil Noto. Now, let's jump into the story. Alone follows Rey after she's been orphaned on the desert planet Jakku, and she's joined the Resistance. She's trying to strengthen her connection to the Force during this time period. The story begins with a flashback from her childhood on Jakku, and then catches up to the time period between the end of The Force Awakens and the start of The Last Jedi. The Resistance base on Dakar, that's where we are. Princess Leia and Chewbacca have a moment as they mourn Han Solo before Chewbacca joins Rey on the Millennium Falcon. I appreciated this scene because we see Chewbacca's resistance, if you will, his reluctance to leave Leia after just losing his best friend and her love. That piece was missed on screen in both movies, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. As Chewie heads out to prep the Falcon, Leia summons Rey for a debriefing of sorts. You see, through the Force, Leia was able to feel Kylo's anger and the loss of Han Solo, but she wants Rey to explain to her exactly what happened on Starkiller Base. Rey is still a bit traumatized by the incident, but she explains the best that she can, not having heard the conversation between Han and his son, Kylo Ren. Rey cries and Leia holds back her tears as Rey describes the scene unfolding to the death of Han Solo. Rey makes the comment he should have run, to which Leia replies, Han knew there's a time to run and there's a time to take a stand. Leia takes this opportunity to guide Rey in the same direction, explaining that she too needs to trust this instinct, feel it, and when the time comes, use it. I like this exchange because it felt like Leia was in more of a Jedi mentor role, which took me back to the Leia of the EU. I also like seeing her arrogance shine through as she talked about how well she can handle herself with a blaster. It made me think about the escapades that she and Han could have gone on together if she were a smuggler or a bounty hunter. And then as Rey is leaving Dakar with R2-D2 and Chewbacca on the Falcon, Leia and Poe have an interesting conversation that mirrors Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda on Dagobah from The Empire Strikes Back, where Poe says that Luke may be their only hope. Leia replies, "No, I believe there is another." Clearly she's talking about Rey, but to what end and in what capacity? I think I'll theorize about this in another video. But the trio is struck by some kind of ionic pulse that disables the Falcon, causing them to make an emergency landing to scavenge for repair parts. Before they make the landing, however, a small fire breaks out in the cockpit of the Falcon, catching Chewbacca's back hair and causing R2-D2 to extinguish him with foam. I didn't care too much for this scene. It just seemed like an unnecessary and cheap joke. It wasn't amusing at all to me. In fact, it was counterproductive because it took all of the tension out of the scene. So they land on this junkyard planet called Necropolis, which reminded me a lot of Raxus Prime from The Force Unleashed. Necropolis is run by an alien calling himself Aranea. Those of you that have seen Solo will recognize this species of alien as the same one that both Han and Kira worked for in the slums of Corellia. The species is known as Grindelid. Aranea charges Rey and Chewbacca 500 credits for a scavenging license and the opportunity to scavenge as much as they can carry, with only one exception. Only Rey would be permitted to go to the scavenging area. Now, Aranea claims that this is for insurance, but something just doesn't seem right about this alien. The planet is full of old ships, full of Star Destroyers and the like, so Rey quickly falls back into her old habits and is able to locate the parts that they need fairly quickly. But not soon after, she's attacked by a monster that looks a lot like the sandworms from the Jedi Academy video game. Outmatched, Rey ignites her lightsaber, and then she remembers the words of Princess Leia. There's a time to run, and there's a time to take a stand. She chooses to run, and she finds a ship, blasts her way out of the mess, destroying the worm. But this isn't just any ship, it's a fire spray. And there's only two characters that we know that fly this ship, Jango and Boba Fett. Now, they don't make mention of it in the narration, and when looking closely at the ship, the color scheme is inverted. But this is 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So perhaps someone stole Slave One, reconditioned it for their own purpose. Who knows? But with all the ships that they could have chosen to display here, why choose the fire spray? If not to have readers speculate about the fate of Boba Fett. So Rey lands the ship and confronts Aranea, realizing that the planet Necropolis is just a giant trap. The energy surge in hyperspace was set to lure ships planetside, where they'd be robbed and maybe even killed. So Rey frees Aranea's workers once she learns that they are essentially slaves, and then she uses the effect mind, the Jedi mind trick, to convince Aranea to surrender himself to authorities. Then they take to space and continue on their way to Ahch-To. There, they arrive just as they did at the end of The Force Awakens. Rey climbs the stairs and reaches out with the lightsaber, but Luke Skywalker is not there to receive it, and that's where this story ends. I really wanted to like this story, but overall it fell short for me. Aside from the possible Boba Fett reference with Slave One and the conversation with Leia, I felt like it relied too much on comedic tropes and didn't do anything to help disprove the Mary Sue argument made about Rey. This is literally the events taking place during the end of The Force Awakens, and her confidence level with the Force is as if she had been doing it for years. The example with the effect mind ability towards Aranea just didn't sit well with me. And I am one who actually likes Rey in concept, and for what she can be as a character. I thought the idea of this story was perfect. Take this small time frame and use it to give the readers a great gap-filling story. This was an opportunity to allow the readers to further connect with Rey. Instead, it felt like we got more of the same weak and uninspiring character development. I did appreciate the colors and the art. Both Raymond Rosanas and Guru Effects did a great job. Overall though, I just felt like the story was lacking. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. Be sure to check out my Lore and Legends series where I dive into stories of the past. I want to shout out my brothers Drunk 3PO and Fatal J. Two great channels, two great people. Listen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I do what I love. I hope you love what I do. This has been another Rancorous Review Comic Book Edition. Until next time.